As the NFL offseason begins to pick up steam, more and more news continues to come out about the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously this is an extremely important offseason for the Eagles moving forward. They obviously have to work to get an extension done for Jalen Hurts. They have 20 free agents that they have to work to re-sign. And they also have a lot of work to do with the draft upcoming in April and them owning 2 first-round picks. And just overall, they have a lot to do this offseason in order to try to maintain the success they had this past year and get back to the Super Bowl next season. And yesterday, we just got some huge news that is going to be crucial to just how successful the Philadelphia Eagles can be in 2023 and moving forward. And we're going to talk all about that in this video today. But before we do that, make sure you go subscribe to this channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles coverage coming throughout the entire offseason. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you go subscribe and turn on notifications. And now without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, it was just a couple days after the Eagles' heartbreaking loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 57 that they got some huge news that altered multiple NFL franchises, and it was going to change a lot for the Eagles moving forward into this offseason. And that news is that they lost their offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, as he was going to now be the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and they also lost their defensive coordinator in Jonathan Gannon, as he is now going to be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. And both of them had a good amount of success in 2022, and they helped to lead the Philadelphia Eagles to an extremely successful season where obviously they went on to win the NFC East, they went on to get the #1 seed in the NFC, and they ultimately ended up going to the Super Bowl. And then of course, sadly, they ended up losing. But both of these guys had a huge hand in their success. Both the Eagles offense and defense had an extreme amount of success in 2022, and each of those units respectively were some of the best units in the entire NFL. And with those two moves, the Eagles were left without both an offensive and defensive coordinator moving forward. And ever since that news broke that Steichen and Gannon were going to be leaving, all Eagles fans have been waiting to see is who's going to fill those positions. Well, yesterday we just got answers to both those questions, and I'm sure if you guys have been paying attention, if you guys are Eagles fans, you probably saw what happened yesterday. But we're going to break down this news. So to start off yesterday, the first piece of news we got is that Brian Johnson, the Eagles QB coach from 2021 to 2022, is now going to be the Philadelphia Eagles' new offensive coordinator. And this is something that we really all saw coming. Ever since Shane Steichen left to be the coach of the Indianapolis Colts, I think he was easily the leading candidate for the Eagles offensive coordinator position. I believe it was reported immediately after Steichen left that Brian Johnson was that leading candidate. I think it's pretty much been known that he was going to be the Eagles offensive coordinator ever since Shane Steichen left, and it was just unofficial. And yesterday, the Eagles officially announced that Brian Johnson would be the offensive coordinator moving forward. And he's also going to be the offensive play caller for the Philadelphia Eagles offense moving forward, as even before he was officially named the offensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni said that whoever would replace Shane Steichen was going to be the play caller. Now, obviously, with Brian Johnson officially being named the offensive coordinator, he will take on that role. And I think ultimately Brian Johnson was the perfect hire for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Brian Johnson is a guy that's largely credited with Hurts' development. I think, obviously when Hurts was drafted, he wasn't expected to be the Eagles franchise quarterback moving forward. He was drafted in the second round, and he was behind the supposed franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz. And you've seen him go from that to then starting 4 games in 2020, not looking amazing. In 2021, he looked okay. He looked a little bit improved, but he didn't look great. He just looked like a solid, but not really a special player. And then now in 2022, to what he's progressed to being an MVP candidate, one of the best young players in the entire NFL, having the best game of his entire career in the Super Bowl, one of the best individual Super Bowl performances of all time. You've seen the massive development that Jalen Hurts has had, and a lot of that can be credited to Brian Johnson, as he was the Eagles quarterbacks coach ever since Nick Sirianni took over in 2021, and he played a big part in that development, no doubt. And he has a really close relationship with Jalen Hurts as well. Brian Johnson was actually coached by Jalen Hurts' dad when he was playing in high school, and he's known Jalen Hurts ever since he was a kid, and they have an extremely close relationship. And that's obviously very beneficial when your offensive coordinator and your quarterback have a close relationship like Jalen Hurts and Brian Johnson have, and I think that's going to be very beneficial for the Eagles moving forward. And Brian Johnson also has had a big hand in the Eagles offensive scheme over the past couple seasons. I honestly think he's had a bigger role in the Eagles offense and their play calling and their decision making than we've thought throughout the past couple seasons. And yesterday, Nick Sirianni talked to the media at the NFL Combine, and he mentioned this, and he also just talked about other reasons why Brian Johnson was ultimately the best guy for this job.
What do you know about Brian from a play calling perspective?
Obviously, and you go through it, he taking us through and getting us to, our first 15 that he helps with, the third down order that he helped with, the red zone order they helped with, the 2-minute calls that he helped with. And so, he's been in that process. And, Brian's had some experience calling it at the college level as well. But as you talk on the headset, hey, they're doing this, we should look to do that. I mean, Brian was doing that all the time last year, right? With Brian, I'm in there with him every single day, and seeing him work every single day, right? Seeing him with the quarterbacks, seeing him in game planning meetings, seeing him on the practice field. Like, Brian's a sharp dude. He is really I lean on him for so many different things, and now he's in charge of running the offense.
I think it's really interesting because something else that Nick Sirianni mentioned throughout the course of this press conference at the Combine yesterday is that Brian Johnson has had experience in the past being an offensive coordinator and being a play caller. He did it multiple times when he was coaching in college. From 2012 to 2013, he was the offensive coordinator for Utah, and he called plays with them. He also called plays as the offensive coordinator in Houston in 2017, and he also was the offensive coordinator in Florida in 2020, and he had a big role in calling plays as well, and the Florida Gators were able to average 40 points per game during the course of the 2020 season. So overall, I have a lot of confidence in Brian Johnson moving forward. He's had great success throughout all the experiences that he's had. And something else that I also think is really nice is that the offense should look pretty similar to what it looked like under Shane Steichen with Brian Johnson. Obviously, Brian Johnson has been on that Eagles coaching staff for the past 2 years. Under Shane Steichen, he's seen how the offense is run. He's helped implement some of those offensive schemes. So I think overall the offense is going to look pretty similar moving forward with Brian Johnson as the offensive coordinator and play caller. And I'm glad he's going to stay here. I'm glad he's going to be the Eagles offensive coordinator for years to come. I ultimately think he was the best guy for the job, and I'm really excited to have him as the offensive coordinator moving forward. I expect the Eagles offense to have a lot of success under him. And ultimately, I do think he was the right hire. And just a few hours after Brian Johnson was officially named the offensive coordinator, the Philadelphia Eagles then dropped the other piece of news that we were all waiting to hear. So the Philadelphia Eagles have officially hired Sean Desai to be their new defensive coordinator, the assistant coach for the Seahawks last season. And I think obviously that this was the position that was a little bit more in question. I think obviously we kind of knew the direction the Eagles were going to go when it comes to offensive coordinator, but with defensive coordinator, I don't think we really knew 100% which direction they would decide to take that in. And they interviewed a lot of guys for this position, but after all the interviews they conducted, they ultimately decided that Sean Desai would be their guy at the defensive coordinator position. And to be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this hire. After the Eagles lost in Super Bowl 57, where I saw them struggle on the defensive end, especially in the second half, and that kind of costed them the game, and watching Jonathan Gannon's conservative style of defense over the past couple seasons here with the Eagles, I was hoping that they would take this opportunity to get a defensive coordinator that had a little bit more of an aggressive style and would blitz a lot more and just ran a lot more blitz heavy packages and things of that nature, and just change up what we've seen over the past couple seasons, because although we did have some success with it, it also ended up being their Achilles heel in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage, and I was hoping that they would be able to change up that style. And I was hoping to see a lot more blitzing and aggressive play calling on the defensive side of the ball this upcoming season with whatever defensive coordinator they were going to hire. And now with them hiring Sean Desai, I know 100% that we're not going to get that. Ultimately, Sean Desai is not going to be a guy that's going to come out here, be super aggressive, and call a lot of blitzes throughout the course of a game. That's not what he's been throughout his entire NFL coaching career, and that's not going to change when he comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And now that they've officially hired Sean Desai, I think I finally realized that Nick Sirianni and the Eagles organization liked what Jonathan Gannon did on the defensive side of the ball. And Nick Sirianni even spoke about one of the reasons as to why they hired Sean Desai was because of the similarities that he had to what they've been doing on defense for the past couple seasons.
But what I did like is some of the similarities to the things that we do that we've already been doing here on a very successful defense.
It seems like this is the defensive scheme that Nick Sirianni and the Eagles are comfortable with, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but it is what it is, and that's just how it's going to be moving forward. This is a scheme and style that comes from well-known defensive coordinator and NFL coach Vic Fangio, who's now with the Miami Dolphins, and the Eagles actually consulted with Vic Fangio throughout the course of this season. And his scheme includes a 3-4 base, a 2-high safety shell, a lot of zone coverage, a lot of emphasis on preventing big explosive plays and not a lot of blitzing, and a lot of the pressure that they try to create comes from stunts and creativity that they use to get favorable matchups with their pass rushers, and they try to disguise defensive coverages as well. And that's a lot of what the Eagles have done for the past 2 seasons under Jonathan Gannon, and they had a lot of success with this in 2022. The only problem with it is it hurt them against the elite of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, because they were able to sit back and read the defense, and when the pressure wasn't getting there, they were able to just pick the defense apart. And I think a lot of the problem with this is that Gannon failed to adjust in these situations when things weren't necessarily working and going in his favor. And obviously Sean Desai does come from Vic Fangio's coaching tree, so he's certainly going to implement a similar scheme to this with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2023 and moving forward. He's been a defensive coordinator before. He was the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears in 2021, and they ranked 29th in blitzes during the course of that season. So obviously I don't think much is going to change with him now coming to be the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think we're going to blitz very much this upcoming season at all. I expect a very similar thing to what we've seen with Jonathan Gannon and with Sean Desai in the past. So that's something that I'm not too thrilled about, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Sean Desai can't have success in his new position as the Eagles defensive coordinator. And ultimately, what I'm looking to see from Sean Desai this season is that he's able to adjust when things aren't going well, which is something that Gannon wasn't very good at doing in his time here. I'm hoping to see that Sean Desai is an improvement from Jonathan Gannon in that aspect. And when things aren't necessarily going well, when, say, an opposing quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes is just picking your defense apart and you're not generating any pressure, that he's able to adjust and send a little bit more pressure and just do things to try to limit the effectiveness of the opposing offense. Something, like I said, that Jonathan Gannon wasn't really able to do in his time here. So we're going to see how that goes. But there is one thing that I do like about Sean Desai that I've seen recently, and that is that he brings a lot of energy. I think this Eagles coaching staff as a whole is getting younger. They bring a lot of energy. Obviously, you see that with Nick Sirianni, and Sean Desai is a guy that's like that as well. He brings a lot of energy. He's going to connect with the guys on the team. He's going to be a very good motivator for this Philadelphia Eagles defense. And that's one aspect I am excited about. Just take a listen here of him on the sideline when he was the Chicago Bears defensive coordinator in 2021.
Pick! Oh! Go get it! Boom! Oh! Go! Come on, man! We gotta let the big dog eat! Go take that one back! Pick! Yeah! Yeah! No! Come on! Man!
So that's something I'm excited to see. That's something I'm happy about when it comes to the Sean Desai hire. And ultimately, we're going to see when it comes to Sean Desai. I'm not going to say I'm super excited about the hire, but I'm going to give him his fair shot and see what he can do with this Eagles defense moving forward. So yeah, these are going to be the two guys for the Eagles moving forward at the offensive and defensive coordinator position. These guys are going to be here for the next couple of years, and hopefully the Eagles made the right decisions in hiring these guys, and hopefully they're able to have a lot of success in their roles. And these two guys are going to have a huge impact on how successful the Philadelphia Eagles can be in 2023 and moving forward into the future, and also potential limitations that they may have moving forward as well. And hopefully they can contribute to the Eagles' ultimate goal of going back to the Super Bowl and winning one sometime in the near future. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you like the hires of Brian Johnson and Sean Desai? If you want to watch more Philadelphia Eagles content, you can go check out this video right here. And again, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles content coming throughout the offseason. Drop a like on this video right now to help push it out to other people. And with that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.